back like we never left. It's Double Move Sports. Breaking news here, Alex. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry for your Ronald Jones shares because Leonard Fournette has just signed a one-year deal, $3.7 million with incentives to join the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My Leonard Fournette shares are exploding right now. I think we need to talk about this situation, but Alex, let's hear it. What were your initial thoughts? Are you okay right now? First, let me ask you that.
I mean, first of all, barely, because I got a call from you, and all I hear is, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And I'm like, what did you do to me that you have to apologize for? And then he just said, get on Twitter. And I look, and sure enough, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The rumors are true.
Let's go.
Someone pulled a knife out of my back because the Tampa Bay Buccaneers signed Leonard Fournette. And we'll get into some of the breakdown for what it means for Fournette, for Ronald Jones, for the rest of this Bucs backfield. But I'm going to tell you one thing. It's not good for Ronald Jones, Stef. It's not good for Ronald Jones, someone I've been hyping up all offseason. I grabbed him in every single league. All my drafts are done. Have him in every league. Got him for pretty good values in a lot of those. So, it's not going to crush me. It's not going to end my season, but it's just disappointing because I was really, really excited for this guy to see what he could do in this Tampa Bay offense, and things are never going to be the same.
Dude, this goes to show you why there is such an advantage for getting stud running backs on your team. These RB2s, we have such recency bias.
The hit rate is so low.
The hit rate on RB2s is so low. You think of Melvin Gordon, Le'Veon Bell this year, names like that. And, I think those guys will be fine, high floor plays. But, Leonard Fournette, when he gets cut, everyone's freaking out. Ronald Jones, a guy that we had creeping into that, RB20 type of range, finishing RB25 last year, and everything improved in his situation. I want to talk about Fournette's ceiling, and I'll let you talk about his floor. I think his ceiling is, almost right where he was in Jacksonville. In Jacksonville, I was a guy that I was not in on the Chris Thompson hype. That wasn't affecting anything for me in terms of Fournette. Maybe a hit to his passing work. I wasn't expecting him to get 100 targets again under any circumstance, whether it was Chris Thompson or anybody else in that backfield. It wasn't going to happen. But I think now you take the guy who finishes the RB7 last year. He was being drafted around the RB15 range, which is third, fourth round. And, the narratives when he was getting cut, when there were the trade rumors with Fournette, the smear campaign started against him. Fournette is a good running back. He is just a good running back. He's not great. He's not elite, but he is a good running back. He has the draft capital, was a fourth overall pick. He has the college production at LSU. And people, with awful offensive line last year.
He's been solid in the NFL his whole career. He's had some issues, injuries, off the field stuff. He hasn't been on it. There was the 1 year where Jacksonville was contending. Outside of that, they have not been great. So even on a bad offense, he's still produced each and every season. He's been a top fantasy option for as long as he's been in the league. And last year, in an abysmal Jacksonville Jaguars offense that only scored, I think single-digit rushing touchdowns. I know Fournette had 3. I don't think many other guys on the team had any. I'll spot check it here in a second. But even with 3 touchdowns last year, he was a top 7 guy. So he's a talented guy. He's not trash. He's not an elite running back, but he's good. He's definitely good.
He was 8th in the NFL with carries that went for over 15 yards. That's 11 total breakaway runs for the guys that were on this smear campaign fading Fournette because he doesn't have the juice anymore. I strongly disagree. And I was already I was a guy that was smashing Fournette early third round in every 12-team draft that I did. And part of that was for the massive touchdown regression that he was going to see. I put Fournette, the player that I already liked, now he's in a better situation, a better offense. He was 4th in red zone touches last year, should be right around that range again. He only scored 3 touchdowns.
Yes, Steph, the only 3 rushing touchdowns for the Jags. Nobody else got in for Jacksonville. So 3 touchdowns on the ground. That is insanely low. That is embarrassingly low for the Jaguars.
That's disgusting. Well, look, I think the red zone volume is going to be there. That's where the upside comes in for me with Leonard Fournette. I think his ceiling is a high-end RB2, a guy that goes right around that Todd Gurley range in drafts. That's where I have him as his ceiling. I just think it's going to be a bit of a timeshare.
I want to interrupt and ask you something.
Yeah.
I want to interrupt and ask you something. So last year, part of the appeal with Leonard Fournette was, one, he got an insane amount of receiving work. You've already said we don't expect the same volume in Tampa Bay through the air. But last year in Jacksonville, 265 carries on the ground. We believe that comes down in Tampa, right?
I think it'll come down just because there's
200 plus though.
I think 200 plus easy. Like I almost put him like Melvin Gordon, where there's another guy that's there who's going to get touches on the ground.
Maybe 225 carries or so. Yeah,
exactly. 220 to 250 is where I would have put Fournette.
And Rojo gets 100. Rojo might be. We'll talk Rojo as well, and this is initial reactions here, and the more I've thought about it, Rojo might be in a Marlon Mack, Tevin Coleman type of role now. He might be someone who is going to get 10 to 12 touches a game. He might sneak into the end zone every once in a while. If he gets the hot hand, he might put up 15, 20 fantasy points a couple select weeks this season. But it's one of those situations where even if you're on the field getting carries, are you really excited about starting a Marlon Mack or a Tevin Coleman or a Phillip Lindsay right now? Yeah, they might produce some value, but as the, even if it is the 1B in that backfield, it just caps the ceiling. And I think best case scenario, it's a 50-50 split, in which best case scenario for Ronald Jones, it's a 50-50 split, which you're still a little bit worried about starting him on a week-to-week basis, because even without Fournette there was already, such risk involved. We didn't know what this backfield was going to look like with Keyshawn Vaughn and Agumbawale, et cetera. So Fournette definitely doesn't help his cause, and I think for now Rojo is, sadly, as much as I hate to say it, he's a backup, he's a handcuff, he's in that Marlon Mack range.
And that sucks. That sucks for Ronald Jones, and I agree. It
does, man. We've both been so hyped about him.
I know. It's brutal. And the thing is, and this is crazy too, because we've loved Ronald Jones for the upside of as a double-digit touchdown candidate in a Tom Brady-led offense. Now you move that over to Leonard Fournette, and what if?
Or it's going to even split between the two. If Leonard Fournette is getting the volume you talk about, and last year we said he got 3 touchdowns, if between the two they'd combine for 14, 15 touchdowns, and Fournette ends up with 8 of those, 9 of those, that's pretty good.
There's a world, I'm not going to project it just because of all the context we have leading up till now. There's a world where Leonard Fournette is a workhorse back in a fantastic offense. Just let that sink in. I know it's a hot take. I know it's initial reactions. The news just broke. But there is a world.
And we might hear something from Tampa. Arians or someone might come out. And we can't buy too much into Coach Speak. It's been comical at points in the offseason, but they probably will come out in the coming days as he's getting ramped up in camp, things like that. It's still early enough before the season where he'll have plenty of time to be out there for week 1, with a good workload, knowing the offense. But we'll probably get some sort of indication or quote or something one way or another with how they plan to use him. Whether it's true, we'll see. But Steph, you're right. There is a non-zero chance that he is a workhorse, and he might have vaulted himself back up to where he was being drafted before he got cut from Jacksonville. I think that's his upside. That's like the top 5% scenario. But Steph, let's talk really quickly about if we were projecting Leonard Fournette today. A lot of people are drafting. A lot of people are in leagues where Fournette was cut. And he might be on waivers, or maybe an owner wants to, sell Fournette on the cheap, and someone else might think that he has some value. How should we be valuing Leonard Fournette right now? To me, I'll go first here. I think he's a running back too. Like I said, I think it's going to be much more of some sort of timeshare in Tampa Bay, maybe a 60-40 split, something like that. And we can't forget that Agumbawale is going to be very involved in the passing game. Keyshawn Vaughn is there as well. I think Vaughn, people are wondering what's going to happen. Is he going to get cut after being a third-round pick? I don't think so. Damian Harris was a healthy scratch for pretty much the whole season last year in New England. I think we could see Keyshawn Vaughn stay on the roster, be a healthy scratch on a week-to-week basis, and come in and be activated if someone does get hurt. But for Fournette, I think he's a low-end RB2. Right now, that's how I'm going to value him. I'm not going to react too strongly to this news right off the bat and sell out for him. But I think as we hear more, that could change. Hopefully,
here's the thing with Fournette. It's like, hopefully you were able to buy low if he's a guy that you had him
in the last
you held on.
Days, yeah.
Yeah, right. Like if you got him after he got cut, which I did in some dynasty spots, just getting him for relatively dirt cheap, just throwing away some pieces and some picks. And now I'm really excited with how that played out in redraft. Hopefully you just held on to him this entire time, and now you can plug him back in as your RB2, maybe even RB3, because he was there in the 3rd round. I know some leagues he was going late 2nd round, and now you have that, and now you're just praying for the upside and praying for some clarity from the Buccaneers. I'm sure there's going to be plenty more talk about Leonard Fournette. Alex, anything else to add here in this, this first take on this Leonard Fournette news?
Yeah, one last quick thing. I want to get a quick pulse check from you, Steph. I'm looking at some of these names, and quite frankly, this is instant, so we haven't had much time to think about it. But I want to know, full PPR, who you would take. I'm going to go off the list here so people can kind of get a feel for the range we're talking about. Would you rather have Leonard Fournette or We'll start low and go higher and higher. Would you rather have Leonard Fournette or Mark Ingram?
Oh, man. Oh, man.
That's a tough one.
Dude, I would honestly go Leonard Fournette.
Wow, the upside. I mean,
Yep.
Awesome. Well, Leonard Fournette or Raheem Mostert, I think that one might be easier.
Yeah, that's Lenny. That's Lenny. Go up a little more.
Lenny or Devin Singletary?
Oh, Lenny all day. Easy smash.
Lenny or this. It's going to start getting tough now. Leonard Fournette or Melvin Gordon? For me,
Lenny.
it's Melvin here.
Really?
Wow.
I'd go Lenny, dude. I'd go Lenny.
Leonard Fournette or David Johnson?
Oh, man. I'd probably go Fournette.
Dude, this is insane. I'm full disclosure, I'm not quite as high. I don't want to buy too much into the hype, but there's a world where Leonard Fournette ends up being there. So we'll keep going. Yeah, Leonard Fournette or James Conner?
Oh, man. I'll probably go Fournette. Fournette to me is right after. He's back where he was because I was already calling for regression and improvement on an awful situation. And now we just went into potentially one of the best situations with potential to have everything.
Let me just list off some names here. Chris Carson, Le'Veon Bell, Jonathan Taylor. You're not taking Fournette over any of those guys, are you? Because we've gone through kind of that third tier of guys. I think it's the very top and then the big list of like the Mixons and CEH and Kenyon Drake. And then after that, it's like Gurley, Carson, Bell, and Jonathan Taylor, a couple other guys in the mix. Yeah. Are you taking Fournette over Gurley, Carson, Bell, Taylor?
I'd probably put him right under those guys, like right under those. So like
so
RB17.
he's kind of the tier break between those guys and the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and maybe
I'm
in the mix.
lower on him.
Maybe in the mix.
I'm a little lower on him right off the bat. He's more in that Mostert Singletary range, but I think that could change, and we'll see what happens with Tampa Bay. But if you bought low again on Leonard Fournette over the past couple of days, you're probably very happy. And RIP to all the other Rojo truthers out there.
I'm sorry.
I'll have a beer, pour one out for Rojo tonight, but is what it is, man. Hopefully we can see him get some action this year, and he'll be back somewhere in the future.
I'm sorry. That was the most defeated outro I've ever heard, but
Tough scene.
Guys, thank you for listening and watching. Really appreciate it. Hit that like button. Give us a sub if you like what we're doing here on the channel. Follow us all season long. Breaking news clip. We'll see you next time. Peace.